Welcome to Rising Above It. I'm your host, Nancy Siegel. Today's topic is job creation with an entrepreneurial spirit. We have a very special guest here today. He is a business marketing coach as well as an author. And welcome, Joe Nicassio.
It's Nicassio.
Oh,
That's okay.
Nicassio. Sorry, I had it close.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, welcome, Joe, and
Thank
thanks
you
for
for
being
having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. And so, Joe, you're a business marketing coach, and you do a few other things. You do a lot of coaching, you do mentoring. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Okay, well, a long time ago I was an electronics troubleshooter, but today I'm more of a business troubleshooter. I'm a business mechanic. So I help business people solve business problems. And I've developed an expertise in sales and marketing, but the best way for me to explain what I do is a parable. Once upon a time, a man was walking down the street, somewhere between Bad Judgment Boulevard and Poor Economy Avenue, and he fell into a hole. So he was screaming for help. And so a man came by, heard the screams for help, and he threw some money in the hole. But the man was still in the hole. So he kept screaming for help. And so a priest came by and said some prayers and threw in a Bible, but the man was still in the hole. So he kept screaming for help, and a politician came by and he wrote some legislation and passed some laws, and the man was still in the hole. And then a friend came by, heard the screams for help, and he jumped in the hole with him. And the man was livid. He was screaming. He said, "What are you doing? Now we're both in this hole together." And the friend said, "That's true, but I've been in this hole before, and I know the way out. Follow me and let me show you the way." So I'm a person who has had a lot of business experience. I've had failures as well as successes, and I've learned much more through my failures than through my successes. And whatever kind of problem you're going through, it can be overcome. And I'm that friend that is willing to jump in the hole with you and help you thrive in your business.
Great. And you not only do the mechanics of helping people, but you also, take an approach, a unique approach of more of the spirit sense, correct?
Well, yes. I look at people holistically. I say it's malpractice to give a prescription without a proper diagnosis first, and everybody's situation's different. Sometimes their issue is just the external things they're doing. Sometimes it's their thought process, and sometimes their spirit's in the wrong place. Everybody's different, so I take the time to ask a lot of questions and really diagnose what's going on so we can pinpoint the solution to the problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And I just want to mention, since we have something in common here, in regards to NLP, I've been trained in that, which is Neurolinguistic programming. You have a background in that, and can you share a little bit about your training and how that applies to what you...
Well, my Neurolinguistic programming training, I'm a certified practitioner and a certified master practitioner, and it was over about a year of training. Mm-hmm. And it's some of the most profound training. I never took neurolinguistic programming to do that as a separate profession. However, it is a life skill that's allowed me to it's impacted every level of communication, every relationship I have. Mm-hmm. When I'm working with a client and I start asking questions, by just the language that they use, I can see the maps in their head, mm-hmm. and by just changing a few words around, breakthroughs happen.
Yeah, great, good, which is really important, especially when people are fixated on their business and their emotions are behind it, and emotions sometimes get in the way, and all their belief patterns that can add as blocks or open up the doors.
Can I give you an example?
Yes.
I had somebody come to me recently, and this man is a great public speaker. He used to warm up the stage for Anthony Robbins, and he is a body language expert. And he came to me and said, "Joe, I need a website." And I'm like, "Do you really need a website? Is that the thing that's going to help you get business?" And he said, "Yeah, I need a website." And I said, "Well, okay, I'm going to give you two choices. Choice one is we're going to give you the best website possible. It's going to have all the bells and whistles. It's going to have video, autoresponders, search engine optimization, everything. The other choice is I'm going to get you a list of 500 meeting planners that hire speakers routinely and they have budgets and can cut you a check. Which would you choose? All of a sudden, he shifted because he realized that the map he had, thinking that he needed a website, really wasn't the solution. He needed to get in front of economic buyers, people that could cut him a check.
Yeah, big difference there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so just by analyzing your map, sometimes what you think is what you need isn't what you need, and there's other solutions.
And you provide coaching for people that are looking to do their own businesses as well, right?
Yeah, I'm the business mechanic, so there's two levels. One is if your car is broken, you take it to a mechanic, and so you come to me to be the mechanic to fix your business. But if your car is working and you want to turbocharge it, you also come to me. I'm the guy that helps turbocharge it. And I've worked with small, medium, and semi-large businesses, and I've worked with startups as well.
Okay, great. Okay, so now you've written a book called Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit. So tell us what prompted you to write this book.
What prompted me to write this book was I was invited to speak to a group of 50 people that had bachelor's, master's, and PhDs. And the one thing they all had in common is they were all unemployed. So they asked me to come in and speak to this group of people to help them sell themselves on job interviews. And so I did that. I taught them some ways to sell themselves on job interviews. But I also said, nobody really owes you a job. Just because you have a degree, that doesn't mean that somebody's going to hire you. So if you want a dream job, you may need to create it yourself. So I asked, show of hands, how many of you would like to own your own business? And about 60% of the hands went up. And then I asked a follow-up question, and that is, how many of you are afraid of starting your own business? And 100% of the hands went up. And I was like, oh, this is America, the land of opportunity where you can start your own business. Why would you be afraid? And if you feel afraid to start your own business, your spirit's already killed from the start. And so I had this revelation that, unemployment's solved by jobs. Jobs come from thriving businesses, and thriving businesses come from inspired entrepreneurs. The problem is like for these people, there was water on their fire. Their spirit was low. And so I had this recognition that the inspired entrepreneur there are things that kill our spirit and things that build our spirit. So we need to identify, I identified 21 spirit killers and how to replace them with a more empowering belief to build the spirit.
Great. And what qualifies you to write this book? Now you spoke about your own successes and failures, but besides those,
well, it's just bringing up the failure thing again. Napoleon Hill had a great quote. He said, "You failed, congratulations. Now you're an expert at what not to do." But for the last 20 years, I've been coaching. I've worked with over 500 business owners in like 100 different industries. And in the process of helping them grow their business, first of all, if I've taken somebody who's unemployed and helped them become self-employed, they become a solopreneur. They create their own job. And I've also had people come to me that they had one employee, and we helped them market their business and grow to 250 employees. I had another client that came to me who had one truck with one crew of 3 employees doing concrete restoration. And I taught him some things in marketing. And in 60 days, he was buying 3 new vehicles, hiring 3 new crews of 3 people, plus a new estimator. It created 10 new jobs in less than 90 days.
That's amazing.
So the result of empowering entrepreneurs and helping them market was jobs are created. And so working with hundreds of businesses, this is something I've seen over and over and over again.
And how long have you been doing the work that you've been doing?
Well, in different forms for about 20 years.
Okay. Okay. And let's bring up the first slide that we have today. It's the entrepreneurial spirit in America. And is it really dead?
Well, we need, if we want to identify, is the entrepreneurial spirit in America dead? We can't really make a blanket statement about the country. We have to triage people individually.
Okay.
For those people in that room of 50 people that had their bachelor's, master's, and PhD, those people were in the morgue. I mean, where there's life, there's hope. But if you believe that I'm afraid to start my own business, you're not going to start. Now, other people, they're on the brink. They're really critical, and they can get help. Other people are going along, and they're pretty comfortable, but they have some flaws in the system. There are companies like Eastman Kodak that used to be a thriving business. I was an employee of Eastman Kodak. I worked in corporate America. They used to be like a $20 billion a year company, and they have shrunk because when the rules change,
they weren't prepared, right?
Yeah, it sets everybody back to zero. A lot of companies have become antiquated because of the new technology. A lot of us have iPhones or Androids or smartphones now. We don't need cameras anymore. We don't need video cameras anymore. We don't need map books. Thomas Brothers Maps is out of business. So many things have been replaced. So if you want to succeed today, you have to innovate.
That raises a question. I've seen so much technology take over people's jobs throughout, just in a matter of, like, say, a 10-year span. How do we counteract that as, I mean, yes, we can create our own jobs, but how do we counteract the technology taking over people having, like, an everyday job?
Well, I had a revelation, and this is one of the reasons I think I shifted into marketing. I come from technology. I was building computers in high school electronics 2 years before DOS came out. I used to have a vacuum tube tester. I was in love with technology. I think technology is wonderful. But when my business crashed 25 years ago, I had a revelation that low-tech effective is better than high-tech ineffective. And so even though we can transmit a gigabyte of information around the world in a nanosecond, sometimes it takes days, weeks, months, or even years to get through 1 inch of human skull. And so even though we have all this technology, what's really lacking now is the real true connection. And what I'm actually witnessing is people falling in love with the technology, falling in love with their products, falling in love with their services, instead of falling in love with their customer. Because, the purpose of a business, most people get this wrong. If I ask most people, what's the purpose of a business? They'll say it's to make money. But the truth is, and I'll quote Dr. Peter Drucker, because its purpose is to create a customer, a business has two functions, marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation produce results, meaning at the cash register, everything else is just a cost. Okay? So, money comes to those who create value. I've had some of my best successes with clients. I've had the clients that have had the great website. They've had the email list. They've been doing the teleseminars, and their sales were dead. I had a lady that imported Himalayan salt licks for horses, and that was exactly her case. What did I have her do? Get away from the computer, take some samples to the horse shows, and put your product in front of real customers, bring some samples, put it in front of the tack shops, put it in distribution, and within 60 to 90 days, she sold both of her pallets and was reordering more product.
Well, that's good.
And why? Because she peeled away from the technology and she had that real human connection.
Yeah.
So some people think that the technology is an advantage, but
sometimes it's not.
It's not.
You can see. I can see that in some businesses where that happens. Sometimes the website is just like the business card, and it can be just used as that, and where you just have to go out and put yourself out in front of the people.
Yeah, on my website, if you go to it's a very basic website, and I do not have an email link. I have a phone number. I want people to call me. I want the human connection. I want to talk to people and have that interaction.
That's great. Okay, let's bring up the next slide, which is where do jobs come from?
So this is something we talked about a little bit already, that unemployment, I've written a book on job creation. And I call it nurture up economics. You've heard of trickle down economics. That doesn't work. But if we want a thriving America tomorrow, we need to nurture a new breed of entrepreneurs today. And so I propose that, you know, again, unemployment solved by jobs, jobs come from thriving businesses, and thriving businesses come from inspired entrepreneurs. Well, where do inspired entrepreneurs come from? The problem is we don't teach entrepreneurship in the schools. In my book, I propose that we put Entrepreneur 101 in every high school in the country as an optional class, and I put a curriculum in the book. If we want to have a new breed of entrepreneurs tomorrow, we need to nurture them today. And I know, in my case, if I would have learned about sales, marketing, business ethics, corporations, you know, if you don't know about a corporation, if you have a problem with a business as a corporation, you can bankrupt the business and it won't affect your personal finance. But if you do a sole proprietorship, it can destroy your credit. It happened to me, and it could happen to anybody else. And if I would have had a corporation set up, it would have saved that. And every student, every child that's 18 years old that has any dreams of starting their own business someday should set up a corporation to protect themselves.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's wise.
Sometimes you learn the hard way, but you know, I know, and I'm witnessing people all over the place that are not protected. They're so vulnerable.
Okay, that's good words of advice there. So, what other places do the jobs come from? I think we have another slide, the second and third slide. I'll pull that up. There we go.
Well, when a business is thriving, then jobs are created. So, if I take somebody and I coach them to go from unemployment to self-employment, we've created a job for them. Even if they just are self-employed and they have no employees, they've just employed themselves. And once that company grows, you know, through marketing, through sales, through the effectiveness of sales and marketing, at some point your volume goes up. You need to hire people to help you. I am so blessed at what I do. I get such a sense of fulfillment from what I do, because when I take somebody who's got a one-man show and they grow and they start making a lot of money and they need to start hiring employees, when the business grows, first of all, it doesn't just help that person, it helps their family, their children. Okay, if they bring on employees, it helps them and their family and their children. Plus they're buying products and services from vendors, so it helps their families, their spouses, their children. If there's investors, it helps their families, their children. There's a huge ripple effect when a business grows. It helps so many people. And so that is the fulfillment I get out of what I do.
Yeah, and that whole ripple effect, it's like if you take that person and this person and everybody's rippling, you know, it's going to create a thriving economy.
Yeah, look at Apple Computer. I mean, it was two guys in a garage that started out. Now there's, you know, I don't know how, it's like 500,000 Apple employees, and there's hundreds of thousands of apps in the App Store. Those are developers that don't even work for Apple, but they're making careers off of it. The whole music industry is getting paid now through people buying their music through iTunes. There's a whole group of people in China that are making money in the factories, and they brought some of the manufacturing into the U.S. again. So here's two guys starting a garage, and maybe millions of people have impacted jobs and careers because of two people.
And we all don't have to be, you know, the Apples of the world.
You don't have to be that big.
Yeah, I mean, just in your local community here in Santa Barbara, you know, it could be, you know, the landscaper.
Yeah, I mean, if I help you, just you,
yeah,
and you don't hire anybody, but you thrive, it helps you with you and the people you love and the people you care about. You get to go shopping.
I get to go shopping
and you get to do more spiritual stuff too.
Right.
We have two parts of our life. We have a temporal part and a spiritual part.
Right.
And it's really important that we succeed in our temporal part to fund our spiritual endeavors. And so it's really, you know, a lot of people are like, they're against making money and stuff, but it's maybe one of the most spiritual things. If you do it the right way, then you can do a lot of good in the world.
Of course, yeah. You can give back.
You can give back.
Absolutely. So let's move to the next slide, which we were talking about where entrepreneurs come from. And we've touched on that, but I think you want to make it a point.
Yeah, in the book, Michael Levine, he wrote Guerrilla PR, and he's a very effective publicist in Hollywood. I mean, he's represented, some of the most super successful people in the world. Charlton Heston, Barbra Streisand, Michael J. Fox, the Michael Jordans of the world, the Oprah Winfreys of the world, Bill Clintons. This guy has an amazing list of super successful people. And one of the things that Michael says is if you want to be successful, you just need to show up. But if you want to be super successful, you need to have an obsession. And his definition of success, obsession is a burning maniacal rage as if your life depended on it. And if you have that fire in your belly, it's amazing how much impact you can have in the world. It's amazing what we can do. If we take our mind and we put passion behind it, we can get amazing results.
Exactly. I can speak from example, just the projects that I've worked on, when I've had that passion and that obsession, I've accomplished so much more, so much faster. It creates that whole motivation and determination to get an end result. So it does fuel that burning passion that people find that they just want to succeed and they do whatever it takes.
Yes.
They get up in the morning, it motivates them, it creates their determination. And
yeah, I mean, if you're just floating around, it's like, I'm going to get by, it's like you're probably not going to make much happen.
Right.
But if you're like some people get excited about going shopping, spending money, and I think too many people are spending too much time on the wrong side of the cash register. What if you had as much fun or more fun making money than spending it? What if you got up and said, I'm going to go out and serve a whole bunch of people today, and we're going to make a fortune? I mean, let's have fun making money instead of let's go to work. I mean, work is it's okay to have a work ethic. It's important to have a work ethic, but why not enjoy it?
Right. Absolutely.
Why not enjoy it? If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong.
I agree, because I've seen so many people just go like grunt work every day, going to do their job, and they're not happy. Whether they're self-employed or whether they work for a company, they lack that passion. They lack the motivation to even do better.
By the way, I wrote this book. Those people are in mind in this book as well.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, they need an employee escape plan.
Tell us about that.
They want to escape. They're working a job because there's a check there and they get benefits. They may hate what they're doing. And to me, what makes a good client for me is there's 3 factors: money, service, and fun. I'm here to be of service, and I want to get paid well for it, and I want to do something enjoyable. If I'm working for a Nazi, let's use an emotionally charged word. If we're working for somebody that's really difficult and you don't want to get up each day, you could pay me $1 million a year, and if I'm miserable, I'm not going to be happy. So, by resurrecting your entrepreneurial spirit, you can create a plan B. You can start your own business. You can plan it. Even the poorest person can have a superior plan. It doesn't cost anything to have a plan. So while you have your job, make a plan, design a business, and spark that spirit, save some money up, and then when you're ready, you can have that entrepreneurial spirit and escape from the monotony of the job you don't like and create the one that you do.
Great. Good. I'm glad to hear that you've addressed people in your book about that. So let's move to the next slide, which now you propose a paradigm shift in the culture. And what is the old paradigm and what needs to be done to change it?
This is so simple. It's almost obvious, but for many years, we've been telling young people to go to school, get a good education, and get a job. And the promise was if you had a good education, there would be a good job on the other side. It was a promise. And it used to be the truth, and now it's a big fat lie.
Yeah.
Okay? So the paradigm shift is very simple. Let's start telling our youth, go to school, get a good education, and get a job, or start your own business. And you know neurolinguistic programming, by just adding the or start your own business, you're opening a doorway in the mind
Right.
to start investigating those other possibilities. If you don't suggest it, the door will always be closed unless some circumstances accidentally cause it to open.
Yeah, I've taken, preparing for this interview, I was really taking a good look at about like how in the past decades, few decades, things have shifted. A lot has to do with technology. But, gone are the days where you go to work, for the same company for 20 years. And, a lot of people don't do that anymore. I don't know what the statistics are about people changing jobs in companies, but I'm sure I would imagine it's condensed to like a short amount of period versus the 20 years, 30 years that people used to put in.
Yeah. People's time at companies is shortened quite a bit. There are certain careers, if you have if you're a registered nurse, you can probably do that your whole life. But there's still shakeups and shakedowns even in hospitals.
Sure.
And that kind of thing. But everything's shifting. The world's shifting. They've just changed. Obamacare is going to shift the way that they staff hospitals. There's always shifts in the world. And so we need to be resourceful. Your past success guarantees nothing. And because of that, when the world changes, there's a saying by Dr. Wendell Johnson, let's see if I can get this correct, but whenever the world changes more rapidly than we do, we become, by definition and inexorably maladjusted to it. Okay, so the world's changing. So we need to change with the world. If the world's changing and we don't, we're maladjusted to the world.
Yeah, and then you have to play catch up if you catch up.
Yeah, you have to reinvent yourself and adapt.
Okay, so and how does your book relate to the Occupy on Wall Street?
Well, the Occupy Wall Street movement is based on a lot of people are angry because they did go to school, they got a good education, and they were looking for the jobs. There was this big promise that if you had the education, you'd get the jobs. And the jobs aren't out there, and nobody owes anybody anything. So it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry that somebody made you a promise that if you had an education, that there would be a job. It's okay to be angry about that, but at some point, you need to go home and look in the mirror and say, okay, nobody's going to give me this job. If I want a dream job, I need to create it. Maybe I need to be an entrepreneur and take my knowledge and apply it in the world, because money comes to those who create value. Every one of those people on Occupy Wall Street has value as human beings. We are gifted with value from God. We are gifted with knowledge, ability, skills, talents, and we need to learn how to use them. I believe that every one of those people on Occupy Wall Street has talent. They don't, what they don't lack, it's not that they don't lack talent, it's they lack mentors. They need somebody to jump in the hole with them, show them the way. If somebody could show them the way and do an inventory of what their skills are and how can we creatively apply this in the marketplace, they can be packaged to add value to other human beings and make a living.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think like each and every one of us has valuable skills of some sort. And if you have the right direction and the right path, it will happen.
So, if you're one of those people that, you're angry at the system, what we've done is created a culture of employer-reliant people instead of self-reliant people. And if you're like saying, where are the jobs? What you're doing is relying on someone else instead of relying on yourself. So if you're one of those people, it's like, get the book, read the book, start, reinvent yourself.
Yeah, and it's about taking responsibility and stop playing the blame game.
Right.
You know, it's I've been self-employed for many, many years, and I've also been employed, and I prefer the self-employment much better. It's sometimes much more of a struggle, but it's much more rewarding as well.
Yeah,
So,
you know, it's not always easy. It
Yeah.
can be a real struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
I know. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But people think, you know, starting your own business is risky. But you know what? Playing it safe is the greatest risk of all. Playing it safe. Because when you play it safe, what you're doing is putting your bullseye, you're taking your arrow and putting your bullseye on mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to achieve big, you got to aim high. And nothing ventured, nothing gained. If you don't take a risk, you're going to end up, if you don't build your own dream, you're going to end up building somebody else's.
Exactly. And some people are okay with that. We need people like that.
That's
Actually,
okay.
we
It's
do need
okay.
people like that because, you know, they're there. They serve their purpose. So it's.
Right. Now, where we're at now, though, is there's like this balance between the entrepreneurs who create jobs and the people that need the jobs.
Okay.
And what's happening is the entrepreneur class has shrunk to a point that it's too small and it can't sustain all the jobs that are needed. So we need to grow the entrepreneur class. Some of these people over here that are asking for jobs need to become entrepreneurs, and as they grow, then there will be plenty of jobs.
Okay, that makes sense. Let me ask you about, it seems as though the foreigners that come to America do better at starting their own businesses than the people here in the U.S. And please share your opinion on that.
And the reason why is simple.
Okay.
In our culture, we've told kids, go to school, get a good education, get a job. We have programmed them to be employees. In other
Good point.
countries, they've told their kids, go to school. No, in other countries, they said America is the land of opportunity. You can start your own business and get rich. So if your parents told you, go to America, start a business and get rich, that's what you're going to think.
Yeah.
Again, it's just the simple paradigm of, you know, if you plant seeds of you can start your own business, there's a good chance that you're going to start a business. But if you plant the seeds of go work for someone else, the chances are not likely that you're going to start your own business.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. That's a very good point.
It's
And-
very simple.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring up the next slide. And in your book, you also say that there's no such thing as unemployment.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, so if you've got a business and you've got 100 clients, and you lose a client, okay, you're self-employed, but you now have 99 clients. You still have revenue. You still have profits. You still can operate. If you have a job, you're self-employed, but you only have one client. You have all your eggs in one basket. If you lose that one customer, your profits go from something to zero. And if you're unemployed, or if you don't have a job, you're still self-employed. You just don't have any customers. So everybody, to a certain extent, is self-employed. The question is how good are you at getting clients to pay for whatever value you offer?
Good point.
And again, if you want a dream job, you need to create it yourself.
Okay. So let's move on to the two economies and how they differ. Can you bring up the following slide?
So, you know, we're living in an epidemic of blame right now. Everybody's saying, oh, the economy's bad. You know, my problems are this because of the economy, and they're that because of the economy. And whenever you blame the economy, you're slitting your economic throat. And the truth is there's two economies. There's a macroeconomy and a microeconomy. The macroeconomy simply says, well, the macroeconomy is interest rates and taxes and all that stuff in Washington, D.C. And we have no control over that. I'm sure you're familiar with the Serenity Prayer. You know, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change,
Right.
the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Well, we can't change all that stuff in Washington other than casting a vote or writing a letter to a congressman. However, the microeconomy we have tremendous control of. The microeconomy says you are only one sales transaction from improving your personal economy. If you make an extra 1 or 2 or 3 sales today, your economy just improved. And so every time we're out transacting, we're improving our personal economy. Although there are people that will tell you right now, we live in a bad economy. The people at Apple Computer, do you think anybody there, every time I go by an Apple store, there's a big giant line.
I know, it's packed.
It's packed. You know, and why? Because they're doing everything right.
Yeah.
And when you do everything right, you will succeed. And so don't focus on, you know, what's going on with the White House or the Federal Reserve. Focus on how can I get my cash register to ring, and you'll be fine.
Okay, and in today's economy, you know, some people are kind of lost about how to do that because, you know, and this is where you step in as a coach, right? And like, what are some of the biggest or the best tips as far as that you would give somebody, like say a small business owner in an area around Santa Barbara, 100,000 people. What kind of tips would you share with them?
Well, it's a pretty broad question because I don't have so the first thing I would want to know is...
So a business owner on State Street.
First thing I'd want to know is what kind of business, what are you doing? You know, what business are you in and how's business? Okay, if their business is thriving, the chances are they're probably not going to want any help. So the first thing is they need to be humble enough to receive the help. Because I can't help somebody that says everything's good even though they're bleeding.
Right.
Okay, so the first thing is to be humble.
Okay.
Okay, and choose your mentors wisely. The second thing is, what is the value that you offer to the marketplace? You know, what is it you're offering? And, you know, people don't buy products or services. People buy the results and the feelings associated with that and the life changes. You know, I've invested over 15,000 hours learning what I know about sales, marketing, business, and all that. But you know what? That's irrelevant. What really is relevant is the ability to transform somebody from stuck to flowing. So the first thing I would ask a business owner is what is it that you promise people? What is it you're offering people? When people buy your products or services or experiences, how do you change their lives? So that's the first thing. And secondly, how well do you articulate it? Gary Halbert, again, is a marketing genius, and I'll use his language, and that is any problem in the world can be solved with one kick-ass sales letter. If you tell, you know, it's not good enough to offer value to people, you need to articulate it. So storytelling is a very important part of the sales process. Do you have one piece of quality literature you can hand somebody, and when they read it, they're going, wow, I need this, I want this, I need this, I want to spend money on this. This is more valuable than the money. So if you tell your story better, you'll do better at the cash register. That's a pretty good starting spot.
That's great advice because it's important. And I think for people that lack that ability to maybe articulate it in the way that comes across properly, I think having somebody like a marketer or coach to help them with that is very valuable.
Let me share something else too. This is a very advanced concept.
Okay.
But if you get this, it's called the grease chute theory of marketing. So think of a water slide at a water park, and at the top you've got people with money, with problems, you know, and they want their problem solved. And at the bottom of the water slide is you with your valuable product or service. Now, if these people have a need and you can fulfill that need, if they have money and you can fulfill the need, they should just slide right down this. It's like gravity.
Right.
It's just like boom. They should just it should attract. Okay, law of attraction.
Sure.
Okay, but there's a problem, and there's what's called spikes. Spikes are anything that restrict the flow. So one of the things I do when I go into a business is I look, what are the spikes? So if they're not telling a good story, they're not even going to look down the water slide in the first place. Maybe you tell a story okay, and they look down the water slide, and then you make it difficult for them to learn more about your product. For example, have you ever called a company and want to ask questions about a product and you get in some automated system and you get lost
So
and you
frustrating.
can't even talk to a human being? It's like, I wanted to buy it 5 minutes ago. It's like, forget it. It's like, I'm through with it. So do you make it simple, fun, and easy and appealing for people to buy from you? Do you educate people? So the more we can find out, okay, you need to have your value, but then you also need to identify what restricts the flow. And if we remove the spikes that restrict the flow, everything flows.
That makes
It's
sense.
amazing how quick
Yeah.
things can happen when you make those shifts.
That makes sense. It's I like that little analogy of the water slide, people coming down to you. Okay, so let's go to the. You've listed 21 spirit killers in your book, and we're going to touch on about 5 of them. And if we can pull up the next slide, and we can share. There we go.
Okay, so spirit killer number 1 is the fear of failure. We've heard some statistics, that 90% of businesses fail after 5 years. Well, these are just bogus statistics. If you go to the Small Business Administration website, they have all kinds of surveys. If you open up a Subway franchise, 99% of them succeed because they have a proven formula. Okay? If you want to succeed in your business, don't focus on why everybody else is failing. Focus on doing everything right. If you do everything right, success is inevitable. So, there's all kinds of statistics out there, but the question is, are you going to be a statistic or are you going to be a success? And it's all about making the decision about, even the poorest person can have a superior plan. So make a superior plan. Have contingencies. Have backups. If you do everything right, success is inevitable.
Great. And let's bring up the next slide. We have the next spirit killer.
Bad advice from family and friends. Never take advice from people more messed up than yourself. I experience this all the time. People, you get on a mission. One of the number 1 keys to success, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, talks about definiteness of purpose. He had 19 principles. It's number 1. In other words, the biggest reason people don't get what they want is they don't know what they want. If you don't know what the bullseye is, how could you possibly hit it? So then you decide, okay, this is what I want to go after. And then your family and friends will start saying, don't follow that dream. Go get a day job. They'll say, they'll give you bad advice. It's like, well, you need to go get, a multi-million-dollar loan, or you need to go in heavy debt, or you need to mortgage your house. They'll give you really just bad advice. And one of the best lessons I learned is, and this is a hard one, we are tattooed in our cradles with the beliefs of our tribe. And if our tribe has not achieved the kind of success that we want to achieve, we need to go outside the tribe.
That's great advice.
Okay?
And it's very, very important to
Yeah.
so
So
many
we need
people.
to choose our mentors wisely.
Yeah.
It's if you want to learn how to write sales letters, go find a guy like Brian Keith Voiles or Jay Abraham or Dan Kennedy and study under those guys, like I have. If you want to learn to do publicity, study with somebody like Michael Levine, like I have. If you want to, whatever topic you want to master, go find a sensei who's walked the path before you. It just doesn't make sense to take advice from people that haven't walked the path before you.
That's great advice because throughout the years, I've known other people. I've been through it myself, where people give advice and it was wrong, and it had ill effects put it that way.
Yeah, some people say, the key to success is focus, focus, focus. Well, what if you're focusing on the wrong thing? What if you're so focused on the tree you're missing the forest?
Right.
The real skill is the ability to zoom in and zoom out. Sometimes you got to zoom out, get perspective of all the opportunities, and then, okay, the best opportunity, the most important one's over here, and then you focus on that. You resolve it, and then when you're through, you zoom back out again, and maybe the next opportunity's over here, and so we need to zoom out, get perspective, zoom in on the real high priorities, zoom back out, what's the next priority, and zoom into another location. And too many people are like, it's just so easy to say focus, focus, focus.
Right.
But if you're focusing on the wrong thing, you're doomed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's bring up the next one. There we go.
So this is Spirit Builder number 4. There's more in the book. Focusing on the wrong methods, customers, or opportunities. Could we bring that slide back up again for a moment?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So, once upon a time there wasn't such thing as the internet. Today people come up to me and say, Joe, what do you do for a living? And I say, I'm in marketing. And they say, oh, do you do websites? What people have forgotten is that there's a whole world of marketing called offline marketing. And I gave you the example of the speaker who wanted the killer website, but instead getting a list of his buyers made more sense. McGraw-Hill did some research, this is prior to the internet, of the 7 marketing habits of fast growth companies. Fast growth companies, they have a sales force. They have people knocking on doors and shaking hands.
Right.
Fast growth companies, they have quality literature that tells their story very well and describes the product in a way that makes you want to buy it if it's something that's good for you. Fast growth companies use public relations. They get exposure in radio, TV, magazines, newspapers. Fast growth companies use strategic advertising. Michael Levine says, advertising is what you pay for, public relations is what you pray for. They're both important, though. Fast growth companies do events, where they have a chance to meet people face to face. Fast growth companies use direct mail. Okay, so we can't neglect those things that have been proven to work. Building a website is not always the right answer to get your cash register to ring. So a great example of this is Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret's at one point made an entrance into the internet world. And they used, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. And they pumped in, they did television ads, they promoted the website on the internet, they used, they had their runway. They used every method. They have supermodels. I mean, at the time they had Tyra Banks and Heidi Klum and all this. And they at one point got to be rated number 6 on Alexa, meaning the 6th most highest trafficked website on the internet. Now, I had a chance to look at an annual report for Victoria's Secret. So this is a couple years ago, but it's still pretty valid. Do you know what percentage of sales came from Victoria's Secret's internet?
I would guess, only because it's Victoria's Secret, it was probably mostly men looking at the models versus people buying.
Well, the truth is...
Because their stores do phenomenal.
The stores do phenomenal, and the truth is 3% of their total sales came from the combination of the internet and their catalog combined.
Wow.
Now, not to say that those things don't support the in-store sales, but if somebody tells me I'm going to create an internet-only business, could you imagine Victoria's Secret saying, we're going to just close all our stores and be an internet-only business? They would leave 97% of the revenue off the table. What a losing proposition. So the lesson here is don't become an internet company, become a company that uses the internet along with every other marketing weapon you could have in your arsenal.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, does this apply to like small business owners, like if you're like not on the big and the Victoria's Secret scale, and you've got a small company and you're in a small location, or you're in a maybe you're just in the local community. Does this?
It applies equally well.
Okay.
Have your website. It's a requirement now to have a website. It is. It's a requirement. Have the website. Point people to it. I believe in something called an offline to offline strategy. Meet people face to face. Okay, direct them to the website for resources, but everything's about driving them back to pick up the phone and call you. There's statistics. There's been tests, scientific tests done, that if you put a phone number on your website, some people want to dial an 800 number and talk to a human being. And so many people refuse to put a phone number on their website because they don't want to talk to humans. But you know what? Every time you talk to a human, it's a sales opportunity to get your cash register to ring.
Well,
why would you want to avoid talking to people that want to pay you money?
And one of the other things too about a phone number is that it builds relationships.
Yes.
And that's one of the most important thing that you
It's
can
the
do
most important thing.
for a business is building relationships.
Yes. Without relationships, without customers, there's no business at all.
Absolutely.
I covered that one pretty well, I think.
So let's go to the final spirit killer.
Excessive regulations. Of all the ones that's the toughest to overcome, this is the toughest one to overcome.
Okay, and why is that?
Because our lawmakers don't listen to us.
Okay.
I wrote this book as a solution to create jobs. I sent a copy to President Obama at the White House. I'm a little disappointed. There's no evidence that he's read it or even taken a look at it. I had a congressman in my district that I walked into his office 3 times to try and talk to him, and he would not take an appointment with me. I was promised after the primary I would get a call. I called back. I went back in the office. I'm a constituent. I want to talk to my representative. I have a solution for helping solve unemployment and create jobs. I'm not just complaining. I've actually written it down in writing, a solution to create jobs. When can I talk to the congressman? And apparently I'm not making enough campaign contributions or something. The politicians do not listen to us. So you got a dream. You want to make your dream come true. How do you overcome this excessive regulation? Number one, put your business in a regulation-friendly environment. So if California is too heavy on regulation, go to Arizona or Nevada or Wyoming or someplace else that's more supportive of your success. And as much as I hate to say this, because the book is Resurrecting America's Entrepreneurial Spirit, if your business can succeed in China, but it can't succeed in the U.S. because it just costs too much in regulations and taxes in the U.S., and that's the difference between making your dream come true or not, I say go to China. You want to make your dream come true, you got to go someplace that's friendly to making it happen. I hate saying that. So, what we need is the politicians need to wake up, listen to the people, and stop inhibiting entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs are the people that create the jobs. Let's lighten up on the regulations. There's a need for regulation, but not to the point where it stifles people and shuts them down.
Right.
And we have, to a large extent, many entrepreneurs in this country are shut down because of the excessive regulations. So
that's good. That's a good point. Okay, we have about 4 minutes left.
okay.
What other advice would you? Well, let me ask you first. Where can people contact you, and where can they buy your book?
Okay, the book is available at authorhouse.com. My website is rapidresultsmarketing.com, and it's a very simple website. So you can call me at 562-961-3683. 3976. So that's how people can contact me.
Great.
Um,
And they can buy your book.
and they can buy my book.
Great. And what other advice in the last couple minutes that we have would you like to share with the viewers?
Well, one of the most frequently asked questions I get is, which business should I go into? And there's two factors. I think there's two pieces to this that are really important. The first one is do what you love and the money will follow. There was a book written in the 70s called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. You don't even need to read the book to get the gist of it. It's self-explained in the title. Be passionate about what you're doing. Now, what's interesting is I think in chapter 7 of that book, the question was, where's the money? You know, so you can be doing something that you love to do, but it doesn't necessarily pay in the marketplace. So the second piece of this puzzle that's really important, it comes from a marketing genius, Gary Halbert. And Gary Halbert was holding a think tank, and he had several other bright marketers in the room. And he asked them, he said, if you had a restaurant and you could have one advantage over all other restaurants, what would you choose? And the first person said location, location, location. He said, okay, good advice. Second person said, I'd want the best chef, the most delicious gourmet food. Good answer. The third person said, I would want low price food because everybody wants a bargain. Okay, that's a good answer. The next person said ambience. I want a comfortable place where people can hang out and spend money. Okay, that's a good answer. And the last person said, I would want great customer service. He said, okay, those are all great answers. But if I had a restaurant and I had one advantage over all other restaurants, I would want a starving crowd. If you have a starving crowd, location doesn't matter because people will go off the beaten path. If you have a starving crowd, it doesn't matter if you're serving steak, lobster, or hot dogs. They're starving. They'll eat whatever you put in front of them. If you have a starving crowd, you don't need ambience. People will eat off of the street. And if you have a starving crowd, believe it or not, you could be a little bit rude to them and they still will buy from you. So do what you love and the money will follow. And then the next part is discover something in the marketplace that people are starving for. Now, this may sound difficult, but actually it's not, because we live in a world where there are problems. Now, there's two kinds of problems. There's the problems that people will pay to solve and the problems people won't pay to solve. So if we can create an intersection between doing what you love and solving a problem that people will pay to solve, you've got a pretty good basis for starting your own business.
Great. Thank you, Joe. And that's our show for today. We've run out of time, and it's been great having you on the show. And this is Joe Nicassio. And remember, if life gets you down, you hold the power to keep rising above it. Thank you, and join us again next time.